All right, guys, Coop with C&T Designs again. So I'm going to do a couple of videos today. So this one, I decided to go ahead and go with one of the legislative bills that are trying to be pushed through the House right now. Let's go ahead and throw the hair back, because this is going to be another one of those bills. So this one is H.R. 135. And for this one, we're introducing the big green meanie again. And this is about the Federal Bureau of Intimidation, because that's what they are at this point. They're more a political animal than they are anything. So what this bill is, this is H.R. 135. This was, again, introduced on January 4th, where she found the time to do all these bills and introduce them on January 4th. Again, she had them all loaded up already in her high-capacity legislative magazine, and she's just slinging them out there. So this is to require the director of the ATF to semi-annually report to Congress how many transfers go through after the 3-day period with NICS without a return of finding, and then how many times that comes back with a finding that the person is supposed to be prohibited from owning firearms. Now, what you have to understand about this system is, and the ATF plays with these numbers a lot, most people who come back as a prohibited person in the NICS system aren't prohibited. They're not felons, they're not domestic abusers. What it is their name matches someone else's name, sometimes just even in the way it sounds, and they bounce back with a finding that person is a prohibited purchaser, and then that person has to turn around, if they even do, and fight the ATF to be able to purchase firearms because of the NICS background check system. It doesn't just come back. It's not like in a lot of cases where you do a background check for a job and they search your social security number, addresses, all that stuff, and then they come back with basically your history, your credit history, all kinds of stuff on a background check done for a job. These aren't that specific. And it will come back sometimes that someone is a prohibited purchaser or they need to be on hold when they have no criminal background or anything. Looking at statistics on how many background checks come back that are actually not for prohibited persons, but they're showing up as a prohibited person, the statistic is as high as 99%. So if we ever wonder, and I wondered for a long time, you go in now, you fill out a 4473, you legally attest to you are not a prohibited person, you're not addicted to any kind of controlled substances, all that stuff, to get the gun. And this is talking about, or the statistics that the Democrats always bring up is there are like millions of people who have been stopped from buying firearms because they are prohibited people. Well, how many times do we see those people get charged with lying on that 4473 and actually do jail time behind it? It doesn't happen that often. And the reason it doesn't happen that often is because more times than not, that person is actually not a prohibited person. Now, what has to happen in a lot of cases is people actually have to sue the ATF to get that information straightened out in the NICS system. And how many people actually have the money to sue a federal government alphabet agency? I went on to Ammo Land and looked up some of the stuff, and I looked at it from the Trace. There's a bunch of other places. Now, going on to some sites like the Trace, they try heavily to play with these numbers, heavily to skew these numbers. And they're just flat out lying about it. Anybody can go in and try to twist these numbers. But the people who've gone in and actually look at the hard numbers on this show that more often than not, a person who's denied by the NICS system is not a prohibited person. Their name just matches someone else. Now, I hate using terms like people of color. It just annoys the shit out of me to use the left's terms. But demographically, people's names tend to match. So this affects a lot of people of color negatively more than it does, say, someone like me. because my name may match a few other names that are considered Caucasian or white. But that's just the way it is. It's so freaking frustrating. Understand, I don't believe in the NICS system at all. I don't believe in background checks at all. And the more I look at them, the more it shows that none of these background checks really stop any kind of crime. They just don't. Criminals in America are pretty damn stupid, but they're not dumb enough to be going into gun stores all the time filling out 4473s and then lying on them. They're absolutely not. They're just going down to the local crack house where they can get anything that they need, and they pick their guns up there, or they just flat out freaking steal them. It's maddening, the amount of ground that gun owners have given up to the federal government. It's absolutely insane. And there's another video I want to shoot about a guy who was he was in prison for a straw purchase. And they got him for lying on a 4473. And I can't even, I want to go through the Supreme Court arguments on this because it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And it just gives you an opening into the mind of Supreme Court justices when it comes to being anti-gun and taking away your freedoms. But getting back to this bill, I'm going to go on so many rabbit trails, it's not even funny some days. So they want the FBI to come up to Congress, or they actually want them to write a report, I think every 6 months, on the number of background checks that didn't go through and the number of background checks where someone came back as a prohibited purchaser. And they want the FBI to go in and do this report. And the reason they want the FBI to do it is they want the FBI to go in and start absolutely making people miserable if they come back as a prohibited purchaser for some reason. They're not just going to go after someone who has an absolute criminal record. If you come back as a prohibited purchaser on this, then you can expect to be investigated. You can expect to be harassed. You can expect that if you have a gun, that they are going to try to confiscate it. Let's see. There was something else I wanted to hit. They wanted to go over they wanted the FBI to go over what procedures were followed after a person came back as ineligible to own a firearm. Which I can guarantee you the ATF is not going to go to the person, interview them, check their background, and then go, oh, wait, shit, you're actually not a prohibited person. We need to fix that in our system. That's not what's going to happen. They are just going to make people miserable. That's why, if you look at things happening now, especially with January 6th and some other things, the FBI has become a political wing of the Democrat Party. And I almost said I hate to say it, but no, I don't hate to say it. They're another federal alphabet agency with vast regulatory powers that shouldn't even exist. So, no, I really don't hate to say it. I think I'm just going to leave that one there. They're just basically opening up the door. They want to put more pressure on the FBI to go after people that for one reason or another were denied on a NICS check. And I know some people that were denied on NICS checks originally. They went through a 30-day period and then finally were approved, and some of them had to go through some other actions to be approved. But they shouldn't have to go through that. This is more proof that the government can't even do a simple damn background check right. And some people want to give these idiots more control over our gun rights. I can't fit that into my head. And I'm probably going to say that a lot when I go through these bills. Why do you want to give a federal government more control over who can have a gun and who can't, when constitutionally these idiots have no enumerated powers to control firearms rights. I don't see it. Now, understand, I completely believe that a person is safe enough to be out on the streets and in public, they should have their firearms rights. If they commit a crime with that firearm, then they should be prosecuted for that crime. I would settle for that if someone goes to jail for a felony, when they get out, they do all of their probation or parole, and then they immediately get their firearms rights back. If they are deemed safe enough by the state or the federal government to be on the streets and out in public, then all of their rights should be restored. If they are so dangerous they can't be out in public, then they shouldn't have those rights. They should be in jail. And you see my son's head coming into the video. It's just me and him hanging out at the house today. So you guys might see more of this little guy in video state. Can you wave, Wubba? There you go. And say we're going to talk about some more stuff, and I'm going to try to keep any kind of profanity down to a minimum because Wubs right here don't need to be picking that up for me. Yep. You want to show him the big green meanie one more time? Because the big green meanie is one design I think I'm hooked on, and he's going to change and be used for a bunch of stuff. Because the big green meanie don't like gun control, and he doesn't like bureaucrats. So here it is, the Federal Bureau of Intimidation, baby. And the big green meanie don't like them. So, all right, let go. I got to put it down. Y'all take it easy, man. I'm going to try to set up and do another video. And who knows? Wubs might make another appearance, man. Y'all be cool. Later.